Welcome to Let's Talk Maywood. I'm your host, Dr. Regi Ratliff. You may know me from the work of my organization, Eternal Light Community Services, where we provided after school programs that focus on academics and athletics. We provided public speaking programs, financial literacy programs, tutoring and mentoring, as well as basketball, youth wrestling at what was known as the former Boys and Girls Club, which is now called the Maywood Multipurpose Building at 200 South 5th Avenue. Joining me this evening is Terrence Hollisworth. Terry, how are you doing this evening?
Doing good. Thanks for having me, Reg. And I'm looking forward to talking about Maywood and Dr. Larry's campaign.
Nice. Let's get right into it. So this evening, as Terry said, we have Dr. Mary May Larry. She is a business professional and is well versed in her knowledge of policy and procedures. Dr. Larry is the vice president of the Business and Professional Women's Federation of the Church of God in Christ, which is the oldest and largest Pentecostal church in the United States. Worldwide, Dr. Larry is also the president of the Illinois Midwest Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction Business and Professional Women's Federation. Now, just so everyone knows out there in the audience, Dr. Larry and her family has been involved with Maywood for over 50 years. Dr. Larry is an educator. She's a graduate of Emerson Elementary School. She's a warrior, guys. That's okay, because I'm from Garfield. No pun intended. But she is from Proviso East High School, class of 81, which is where I went, class of 86. So there's mutual love there. But Dr. Larry also is the former director of a nonprofit program that works with at-risk community youth to inspire them to make positive life choices. She is the author of Outreach, Saving Our Youth, a book on effective Christian witnessing. She is an NAACP lifetime member. She's also with the Maywood Chamber of Commerce, also the Neighbors of Maywood, Illinois community organization, also known as NAMCO. Dr. Mary has her entire life has been centered on helping struggling teenagers overcome obstacles. And so we're happy to have her this evening to talk about her candidacy as Proviso Committee person. Welcome, Dr. Larry. We're happy to have you.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Ratliff, and also to the co-host, Mr. Terrence. And also, I love the show name. Let's talk about Maywood. Once again, I am Mary May Larry, candidate for Proviso Township committee person. And I want to state this in the opening of this segment, that ballot asset is a fundamental constitutional right. And a lot of people want to ask me rather, Mary, how did you get here as a write-in candidate?
All right.
And we got here because the incumbent challenged my petitions. And because of the challenge, they did a shotgun challenge, which we know is illegal. And someone is asking, what does that mean to challenge the petition? That means that they take all the petitions that I submitted and went through every one of them and challenged every name, even family members, church members. And what they said, that those individuals did not live at those particular address or at that residence. So we're here because of that. And I want to remind everyone that's listening from Maywood and from Proviso Township, we need your vote. Early voting is on this Monday. It runs for 2 weeks. And our dancing date is on June 28th.
June 28th.
And we'll carve it out a little bit more. We have a lot of time restraints on this evening, but I'm so glad that you tuned in. I'm asking you to share this broadcast. We need the people to hear us on tonight so we can get the vote out during this campaign for Mary May Larry, for committee person, for Proviso Township. Back in your hand.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Larry. Beautiful, well stated. You stated something that needs to be touched upon, the challenges, the incumbents you mentioned to have your name off the ballot. So you came back and you said, it's not going to work. I'm coming back and I'm coming back stronger. What was your motivation for coming on and getting back on the ballot and running?
The need for the people. The people have expressed the need for change. We have over 30,000 individuals who have stated clearly, and they have stated that it's time for a change. And my motivation is the people. With this position, we'll be presiding and networking with 14 different mayors of 14 different towns, with emphasis upon youth employment, unemployment, getting the people employed. And those persons that are listening, if I can just call out those towns, if you can indulge me just for a second, because you may know someone living in those particular towns. And you can call your neighbor, call your friends, call your family members, your loved ones. Let them know to show up on Monday for the next 2 weeks. And for the election day, show up and then vote. Vote Mary May Larry for the next Proviso Township Committee person. If you live in Bellwood, Berkeley, the village of Broadview, Brookfield, the village of Forest Park, Hillside, LaGrange Park, the village of Maywood, the village of Merrowes Park, the village of North Riverside, the village of North Lake, the village of Stone Park, the village of Westchester, in the village of Western Spring. Listen, you can vote. And until this is sorted out, when you go in to vote, because some people want clarity, when you go in to vote, look to the bottom of the ballot, and then you'll look for the word that says Proviso Township Committee person. And then it's going to be a link right there where it says write in. You'll click that button. And then you'll just type in my name because a keyboard will populate. And then you'll just say Mary May Larry. And those of us in Christendom know that Mary is Jesus' mother's name.
All right now.
We just
Right.
out of the month of May, and let everybody know a Larry. So you just type in Mary May Larry, and let's send a clear message to the incumbent that we will not back down. We're going to go forward, and we're going to possess this community, this township for the people, not for Mary, but for the people. We need 30,000 people to show up and listen and to vote and write my name in it. Back to you.
That's all right. Terry, you have a question for Dr. Larry?
Yeah, midterms are always tough. You talked about getting people out. How has been your approach to voter engagement and just telling people? I know is you get tired on election night and things like that, but make sure to go and vote.
Engagement, that's the key. Getting your family involved, getting my family has been involved, and also going out every day. I try to do a minimum of knocking on at least 200 to 300 doors every day, introducing myself to the community, because what you stated, Terrence, is excellent, because a write-in is very hard, but it's doable. We know that one of our president won as a write-in. We know in New York, a person just won last year as a write-in. Somewhere here in Illinois just won last year as a write-in. But the key is going to the polls, number one, going physically to the polls if you don't have a mail-in ballot. Then look into the bottom of that ballot sheet till you see the word Proviso Township Committee person. And that's where you'll click at where it says write in. And then once again, the screen will populate, and then you'll type in Mary May Larry. And that's the key, everyone. Let's send a clear message once again to the incumbent that a change is on the cusp, and we will possess this community for the people.
I love it.
Thanks.
As you know, Dr. Larry, 14 communities, different needs for every community. We're both Maywoodians and raised in Maywood. But outside of that, we know that, based on the other 13, there are different needs. As a committee person, how would you balance the need between your hometown and all the other communities? Like, how does that look? How does that look for you?
Excellent question. Excellent. Communication. Communication is the key. And not only just to be part of the table in the communication, you have to be able to listen. So I would bring within my first 100 days, and I'm always, I think we had talked about this before, even back with Maywood, when I bidded for a position in Maywood. I was the only candidate had a 100-day plan. If you don't plan, then you plan to fail.
That's right.
So you have to have a plan. So within my first 100 days, I would meet with the mayors across the board. And this is nothing new. I have already reached out to all of the mayors within Proviso Township and introduced myself, be it via letter, be it through some form of communication. So I would network with these mayors across the board and then have a meeting of the mind to get the pulse of their community. Every community, which we know is different. So I would meet with these various mayors and get the pulse of what's going on in their particular community, okay? And also have a background, something that we can spring forth from. And then the major thing, to take a look at the unemployment rate. We need to get these individuals employed across the board.
Yes, indeed. During these inflationary times, you mentioned a couple of things, unemployment, which has impacted, spending and high gas prices, even the crime rate, and we look at some of the communities. How would you communicate with your fellow committee persons as somebody that's sitting on that board as it relates to a Maywood, where they're really struggling right now with leadership?
Exactly right. Thank you. Once again, an excellent question. Even now, across the board, I'm already dialoguing with other community leaders that's pursuing to be a committee person. So I'm already engaging. And in reference to Maywood, I would sit down with that particular mayor and see the need of Maywood, which is great needs within our community of Maywood. And then I would engage the community to try to move the needle into the direction of Maywood. Now, we have to be fair across the board, of course. But I often state, if you take out a white sheet of paper and you draw a line through a white sheet of paper, and it's more cons and pros, and they outweigh each other, then we need to take a serious look and see what is the problem going on into the various communities. So Maywood, we will take an in-depth look at Maywood and the need of Maywood.
Very good. Don't want to take up all the questions. Terry, you had...
I had a question. Can you talk a little bit about, the infrastructure spending and how you think that it should be applied to the different communities? Because they do have different needs, but these are, as President Biden said, one-time investments or investments for the generation.
Exactly right. Excellent question. We have to, once again, when we do the first 100 days meeting with the various mayors, we have to be fair across the board. We do know money is coming within the community of Proviso Township, rather within the township. We have to come to the table and articulate the needs of the communities and see, now look, let us get our fair share also. Don't leave Maywood out. So it's very important when we come to the various table of negotiation that we're able to articulate the needs correctly within the village of Maywood. And then across the board, we're right neighbors to other communities. Let's sit down and reason together and see how can it benefit us across the board. We know through the pandemic, millions of dollars have been allotted to various communities. So we need to find out why having Maywood receive equal amount of money across the board if we're focusing this evening on Maywood, since it is, let's talk about Maywood, because Maywood is encompassed within Proviso Township.
Absolutely. Well, we see the challenges that our youth face, and you working with youth as invested as much gracious time as you have to empower our youth, and we still see challenges that exist. What is your vision for in decreasing the unemployment rate amongst our youth in Maywood? Now schools are out, just about out for the summer. We're into the summer months. There aren't a lot of activities in Maywood right now. There's certainly some effort, but the results aren't there yet. So how could you push that needle further as a committee person in Maywood?
Exactly. And once again, excellent question. My background is grant writing. I served under about three presiding bishops within the Church of God in Christ. Bishop Ford, if you ever travel down the expressway, that's who I'm making mention of. And
Mhm.
also Bishop Owens, who succeeded Bishop Ford, and then Bishop G.E. Patterson. So, what I would take a look at with our young people to see, number one, let us meet with the young people. Let us listen to the young people. My son, Nathan, I have one child, Nathan, graduated from Columbia College. He has
Nice.
a mentoring program here in the community of Maywood. Give Christmas, everything is free. Give toys away for Christmas. Back to school giveaway. Wraparound tutoring program where Dr. Lynetta Davis chair of that particular after school program. So I would sit down and talk with the young people and listen to the young people. A lot of times the young people just need us just to listen to them. And
Absolutely.
then I will use my expertise as being a grant writer to get the various resources and funding to direct them to the young people and to organizations. Listen, don't forget about the grassroots organizations
Absolutely.
that are doing things within the various community. All they need is a little help. So what I would do, and I do it anyway, August in September rather, 16th, I have a workshop. Whereas people that need 501c3,
Mhm. Mhm.
we show them how to get 501c3s.
Mhm.
Also, grants, how to write a grant. Okay. A lot of time you want these fundings, but you have to have the foundation laid correctly. So that's the thing in the avenue that I would take in reference to the young people. And then if I can conclude with this statement in reference to the young people, this fall, we're going to offer classes for the young people, tutoring, how to start a business, how to manage money, how to do a resume. I often think about Black Wall Street.
Yeah,
Wall Street, they had everything within that community.
absolutely.
Why not within Proviso Township? Why not? We don't have to go to these other areas. We should be able to manage with our various neighboring communities. And
Mhm.
the mayors are willing to help. In the communication with the various mayors, they're willing to help. So that's what I would do, starting off in reference to our young people.
I'm glad you said that, Dr. Larry, because it reminds me of a community organizer named John McKnight. His name may sound familiar to you, but he wrote a book called Asset Based Community Development, ABCD. And you use all the assets from within the community to build it out and not rely on outside
Mhm.
sources to come in. And from my knowledge and experience of Maywood, Maywood has everything it needs to be that Black Wall Street that it once was up through the 80s, to be honest with you. Is that something that you agree with in terms of returning to those roots to build it up from the inside out?
Correct. From the inside out. You have people right in Maywood that can move the needle on Maywood growth and development. All they're asking for is an opportunity to serve. So many times we look from without, but we need to look from within. And even with Proviso Township, with me running for the committee seat, and after being the committee person, the next committee person for Proviso Township, I'm looking at to work within the various community to grow our community. I often said in reference to Maywood, since it's talking about, let's talk about Maywood.
Let's talk Maywood.
I often used to say, and I still believe it can come to fruition, in reference to giving funding and resources to the youth and the organizations within the various community. But we're speaking tonight in reference to Maywood, was to do a trolley line from Loyola University, going to a medical center, rather, going to Triton College, in the proceeds from that trolley line to benefit the youth
Mm.
groups within of the community. So it's ways that we can do to generate. It shouldn't be that you have a dream to help young people, but then you have to be burdened with the resources and the money.
Mhm.
So my thing is, as your next committee person of Proviso Township, holding the people accountable, working with the various mayors and leaders, and having resources and funding, not only for our youth, but for our senior citizens
Absolutely.
who became and have reached their golden years and need resources. I
Mm-hmm.
often say, what about having an evening where they can dress up and look nice and go out to theater and dine within the various communities? There's nothing wrong with that. We need to go back to the root where we spend money within our various communities and within our various towns. And that's why Black Wall Street was successful, because the dollar bill changed hands about 18, 20 different times before it exited the community. See, that's economic wealth. That's economic development.
Yes.
Give the people an opportunity. If they want to work, give them a job. But if they want to own a business, why not help them own a business?
Okay, I like that. It kind of gives me thought of the Lido Theater.
Yes, I remember.
Right Way, Robinson's gas station, Mr. Ernie's, you know, Evans Cleaners, you know, Pick and Pay the way it used to be, Donna Realty, you know, the list goes on and on of businesses in Maywood, whether it was South Maywood near Roosevelt Road, Central Maywood, and Madison Avenue, when you had the Sykes store right there in the corner on 13th and Madison. You know, I mean, I can go on and on. It's like a flashback. So I know we're getting short on time, but the A&P over there. I mean, come on now. We had two libraries. All right, we had two. Okay.
And if I can jump in, that's economic development. That's economic wealth. Absolutely. And I often state this, guys, there's nothing wrong with leaders or mayors or managers if it's governed by a manager. Freeze the budget. Sometimes you have to just freeze the budget for non-essential things that don't even matter. Just freeze your budget. And that was part of my first 100 days to freeze the budget, to upstart. And also, when money is allotted, even through this COVID, nothing wrong with giving the residents $100. Why? To spend it within their community. Absolutely. So all of these things we need to take a look at, and also bringing in businesses so that we can lower the taxes. You can't lower the taxes if you don't have a business. So we have to look at that. And also, if I can jump in too, under that 100 days that I often would refer back to in reference to Maywood, because Maywood is housed within Proviso Township, and people are concerned about Maywood. I often say 17th Avenue, having a flea market, whereas the residents would come and sell their own produce and goods and services. And look, that's economic development. Keeping the wealth within the community.
Absolutely. Maywood has everything it needs. I totally agree with that. If it happened in the 70s and 80s before social media and the internet and all that stuff, I mean, it was a true village. And speaking of which, I just want to kind of switch gears a little bit. Your run for mayor of Maywood, you know, it sent shockwaves through the community, because they're like, well, who is this Dr. Larry? Well, she's always been here. You just weren't paying attention. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, but you know the unfortunate event behind the current mayor and his arrest, driving under the influence. I think there's a video, a brief news video or something like that, engineer, that we could show.
The mayor of Maywood is facing misdemeanor charges after being arrested for DUI. Police say they found 36-year-old Nathaniel Booker asleep and drunk behind the wheel on the Kennedy Expressway, blocking traffic in the middle of an outbound lane. It happened at about 1:30 in the morning Friday near Halstead Street. Booker was elected mayor of Maywood last year after serving as a village trustee for 2 years.
Look, there's a lot of things that has changed. I've seen grocery stores come and go. I've lost classmates, friends, relatives to gun violence, drugs, everything in this community. I've watched family members lose homes due to high tax rates. In the past recent, maybe 6 years, I've watched elementary schools close. We don't have the 20 and 50 years our grandparents had to keep our community. This is your fault. We live in a community where we voted you in with hopes that you're going to make us great.
So those were comments from last night's special board meeting from a couple of the residents. So just want to give you a brief moment to comment on the situation going on in Maywood, Dr. Larry.
Thank you again. Excellent question. It was sad because it made world news.
You did.
We do know that every family member battle with something, alcoholism or drug addiction or something like that. And we also know in Christian, because my faith means a lot to me.
Mhm.
Romans, I believe, is 3:23. For we all have sinned and came
Mhm.
short. But do we also know that that scripture leave room for interpretation?
Right.
Okay, especially when it endanger others. Okay, uh, especially also when we decide to get in a vehicle while being intoxicated, right?
Mhm.
And sometime, and that I'm sure that was a very poor choice, uh, very poor judgment. I understand that the mayor will be addressing it after his court date because of the restriction. But it's my hope that he would take into consideration perhaps a sabbatical, a brief sabbatical, or just take some time off to reevaluate everything. So that's my hope. And then also to apologize to the citizens for the behavior. So we keep him uplifted. And once again, thank you for that question because it's a needed question. Because when I'm out and about, I'm asked that every day when I'm out and about in reference to being the Proviso Township Committee person.
Mhm.
So we hope that after he apologized, that he will really take in consideration some time off so that he can reevaluate. And it's nothing wrong with, let me say this, it's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with doing a sabbatical. Pre-COVID, I would do a sabbatical because I'm evangelist, I'm a
Mhm.
missionary,
Mhm.
I'm over the Business and Professional Women Federation. Locally, I'm the president. Worldwide, all over the world, I'm the vice
Mhm.
president. So every year, I'll take a sabbatical pre-COVID. So it's nothing wrong with taking time off. It's nothing wrong with taking a sabbatical. So I
Absolutely.
would submit to him that he will give great consideration to do the same.
Well said. We appreciate that. And it takes a village, right? It's a village of Maywood.
Yep.
It takes a village. And
Mhm.
so, as we prepare to close, I want to thank you again, Dr. Larry, for taking time from your extremely busy schedule during this campaign season, and want to give you an opportunity to make closing thoughts to the
Oh,
audience.
thank you once again. And I want to thank your co-host, Mr. Terrence, and to you, Dr. Ratliff, and to the subject, the title, Let's Talk Maywood. Oh my God. Oh, we're on the cusp of a change within Proviso Township, and we need each of your help. We need you to call your neighbor, call your friends, forward this here show, ask them to vote for Mary May Larry on Tuesday, June 28th. Remember, early voting starts on this Monday. I don't know about you, but I see a dawning of a new day. And with your help, we can make a difference. And remember, when you go in to vote, go to the bottom of the ballot, look for the word that says Proviso Township Committee Person, and you'll see a button that states write in candidate. And remember, write in Mary, that's Jesus' mother's name, May for the month of May. And everybody know a Larry.
Yeah.
Thank you
All right now.
so much for me.
Well, thank you so much for that, Dr. Larry. We hope and pray that everything goes well for you between now and the results and it become favorable, and that you return to the show afterwards and we could do Talk Back Maywood.
You're
And
right.
thanks. Terry, you have any closing thoughts you'd like to share with Dr. Larry or the audience?
No, we're looking forward to hopefully working with you and you winning the position because, like I said earlier, these are monumental, one time in a generation investments. We need forward people, forward thinking people in these positions, engaging, and I think that you can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Larry. Thank you for your vision. And that would end our show for tonight with, on behalf of Terry's brother Terrence Hollingsworth and Diversity Today Media, I'm Dr. Regi Ratliff, bidding you a blessed evening. Good night.
Good night.